and welcome to Introduction to User Experience Design, which is part of the Commerce Data Academy. I'm Tasha Linzo, the lead of the Education Initiatives, and I run the Commerce Data Academy program. And we have with us today one of our staff instructors, Bhatt, who's going to tell you a little bit more about herself and about our program.
Everyone, to Introduction to UX Design. Hopefully everyone's excited to be here. I'm excited to be here and to teach you all. So welcome. So a little bit about myself. I'm a front-end engineer and a user experience designer with the Commerce Data Service here at the Department of Commerce. And some of my skills include graphic design, UX design, of course, branding, prototyping, wireframing, front development, and responsive design. And to James Madison University, and I've also taken quite a few courses through General Assembly. A little bit about the Commerce Data Academy. I'm glad you're all here because that means you know about the Academy. So these classes are part of a data education initiative taught through the Commerce Data Service, which is the team Natasha and I are with. We offer data science courses, data engineering classes, web development, and design classes as well. And this training is offered to OC employees to help you all improve your skills and to be better people. So the course schedule and materials are available on our website, dataacademy.commerce.gov, and all this information about the classes being taught right now, and then also our previous classes are all online if you ever want to watch previous courses or catch up on anything. And of course, if you have any questions, you can reach us at dataacademy@doc.gov. Class guidelines, pretty straightforward. If you have any questions, raise your hand and we can pass around the mic and you can ask your questions. And to people online, feel free to just type in your questions and we'll be sure to read them out loud and take note of them. So I passed out, for those in person, I passed out some documents that we'll be working with a little later. And then for those people online, or if you didn't get a printed copy, here are the links to access them online. So I'll leave up here for a second so people can navigate to those things if you need. But you can access and download the slides from the link as well if you want to follow along on your laptop. Great. And we're doing an online, we're doing a partner interviewing exercise at one point. So for those online, I sent out a document. So if you got that document, please find your name and find your partner so you can send them an email and connect with them, because we'll be doing an interviewing exercise that's pretty integral to what we'll be doing today, what we'll be learning. Great. So does anyone have any questions about that much? Any questions? Cool. So before we jump into user experience design, I'm really interested in hearing what everyone here is interested in learning about. Anyone want to share here? Go ahead.
John Larson, and we're in ITA Global Markets Commercial Service, and our office kind of on the export.gov website, and content that's on there, and do what we can with the platform we've got with user experience. So we have a new team in our office. My ex can say if they like about that, and so on export.gov, that's a portal for business thinking about international trade and foreign sales. And there's things we want to do on there. We want to engage companies they are pulled in and do. We also want to deliver information in a clear format that is intuitive for them. So that's an interest that we have in this particular experience. Was very, very important to us.
Yeah, great. That's super interesting. Thanks for sharing. Does anyone else want to share? Please, 2 more people have to share.
Sharif knows I'm working with John in the same office and Oslam as well. I did a quick intro about all the team. So mainly it's like I did like a lot of sites before. Website or designing a website is an easy thing, but the fact of like to address the needs of a user, that's the big thing. So we are mainly here to know what user behavior should we consider while designing a website and what we take care of in the export.gov.
Great, thank you.
My name is Maureen Book, and I'm with Select USA. And we do a lot of publishing user experiences with our website and our Select USA stats tool in particular. So I'm just here to learn more about user design and how we can best design our tools for the variety of users that we face and work with.
Fantastic, thank you. Sure.
Online that responded. One of them said they're interested in improving UX UI for our facilities online science-based training program. Plus, the director and AD asked me to look into this. Another person said, I'm a visual information specialist with a background mostly in print design. I've been looking for ways to expand my digital design knowledge, especially UI design. And Mel said, we are building a new online tool to help communities assess and plan for community connectivity. And lots of data, lots of questions. Started with user personas, but we really need to improve user experience and design. And two other people. The Use of the Coast survey is redesigning its website. I'm interested in learning about user research, how your personas work. And two more people. I'm interested in learning a new skill, specifically learning to code. And another person said, I'm at USPTO. We're systematically replacing our software systems, and the systems are extremely cumbersome. Excessive reliance on web-based development is preventing the creation of tools that do what the users need at the speed the users need.
Very cool. Well, thank you for sharing. And I definitely think we'll be able to talk about quite a few things that you're all interested in during this class. So let's just jump right into it. So a lot of times I get asked, what is user experience design? Just what is UX? It's a really big question because there's so much that goes into it. So this definition by Jesse James Garrett is something that I think does the best job in defining it. Experience design is the design of anything, independent of medium or across media, with human experience as an explicit outcome and human engagement as an explicit goal. Meaning, user experience, you can apply UX design to apps, to websites, to technology. But the reason why I love UX so much is because it actually applies to everything that humans interact with. So take the chairs that you're sitting in. They're pretty comfortable. We're having a good time, which means our experience with these chairs is positive. But let's say that we them and they all broke. That would be a pretty bad, terrible experience. For me, experience design encompasses everything that we interact with. But today, we're going to focus on how UX can play with technology and our work at the Department of Commerce. So one of our class goals for today, we'll be talking about UX design theory, human-centered design thinking, and basic principles of design. And throughout the course, we'll be going through a couple different exercises, and we'll be conducting user research, we'll be developing personas, we'll be interviewing users, so everyone will get to talk to each other, and we'll be sketching a low-fidelity wireframe, and then I'll also go over the basics of usability testing as well. So that being said, UX is a really long process, and that doesn't necessarily mean it's hard. It's just a process. So is a diagram that I've put together of my process and the UX process that we do within the Commerce Data Service. So we start with a problem, we identify a problem, and next we move on to conducting research. So that research can include a lot of things. So, for example, it can be identifying users. Who are the users that are affected by this problem? Who are the people? What systems are they using when they are dealing with a website or an app? And once we do our research, we conduct interviews with those users. So, for this example, I'll use a website. So, the Data Academy website, I actually was able to building that website, and then I also conducted usability testing on it. So, for the website, I identified users of the website, which were people like you all that have taken the class, and sat down with them and did testing and asked them how their experience was. So, in that part, I was interviewing people to understand their experience, and then synthesized the research, meaning I just kind all of it and found personalities that they all experienced, and then I came up with ideas to improve upon some issues that I found, and then I designed improvements. Then I tested those improvements. That's where usability testing came in. Also, this is just a brief overview. I'll be going deeper into all of these things a little bit later. So I designed improvements, test them with people, like sat down, had them click the website, and I iterated on the design that I had come up with. So this diagram is pretty cyclical, and I definitely say in terms of iterating, designing, and testing, it can be a long circle that kind of repeats. It's really great in improving your products and improving your websites or apps or whatever you have. Oh, okay. Great. All right. All right. So, a lot of times people also think that UX design is maybe only interface design, or choosing the fonts that go on a website, or choosing the colors of buttons, but it's actually a lot of stuff. So here illustrated some major components of UX design, but since we only have 3 hours, we'll be focusing on these parts in particular. So we'll be focusing on design thinking, product identification, human-centered design, and also we'll be doing some interviewing, persona creation, and building empathy throughout the whole process. So, does anyone here know what design thinking is? And ideas about what design thinking is? Okay. Susan said making things easier to use. Totally. Ideas? That's fine. I'm going to get you guys talking eventually. So design thinking is essentially it's a way of thinking about solving a problem. So I mentioned how you experience design is a theory of process. So design thinking is kind of the same thing. And I think this quote by someone from the Stanford Design School does a really great job of illustrating that. If I were to design a better pair of scissors, you would immediately think of something with a handle and 2 blades that fit in your hand. But I told you instead to find a better way to cut paper, then you would imagine something that was larger and with a single blade, or something that rips paper, or something that is similar to a hole punch. So design thinking is a way, it's a methodology of having a problem and thinking of solutions that go outside the box. And it's just a process that really fuels innovation and gets people thinking outside the box. So this is the process. I outlined the UX process, but this is what we'll be going through in the class. So we're going to start with product identification. I have outlined a specific problem that we'll be working on throughout the class and look at the goals of that problem. Then to user research, where we will talk about personas, we'll interview users, and we'll develop empathy. And then for the research synthesis, we'll be creating a persona profile. We'll identify the main goals and pain points of those users, and we'll be doing how might we exercise. It's another method. And to conclude, we'll be going into problem solving, where we'll look at our research and come up with a solution, where we'll be taking into account the user needs that we identified, and we'll be sketching some wireframes and ideas. Being said, does anyone have any questions so far? So the problem that I've identified today that we'll explore is a hypothetical problem. So, the ideas and solutions are really limitless, which is good. So the problem is that employees of the Department of Commerce don't get enough sleep. They're exhausted all the time. How do we? So we, in this class, we're going to be the DOC Wellness Center. And we've decided that we want to create a mobile app that can help employees improve their sleeping habits. The goal of this is to improve sleeping habits, increase healthy habits, and enhance capabilities of DOC employees. So that being said, into an interviewing exercise in a little bit, where people in the class can partner up with people, and then people online can connect with the people assigned them. And we're going to interview people to understand others' experience with work and sleep and life. It's a pretty big thing, but I've outlined specific questions that we'll be asking to help facilitate that conversation and to help you understand another perspective. So while we're interviewing, a big thing that we're going to be doing is building empathy. So empathy comes into play with user experience design because as designers, as specialists, as people trying to better our product, we have to take into account this experience, and we can do that by developing empathy and by asking them questions about their current experience. And this quote, I think, brings up a really good point, that when people try to act empathic without taking the time to develop empathy, business decisions are based on expectations and not on actual knowledge. And that's a really big thing, because remember, I'll kind of repeat this a lot, but you are not the user. So, for example, for the Commerce Day Academy website that I built it. We're on the team that, puts information on it. We're the users of the site. So if I looked at the site and I tried to fix it based on my own knowledge, I wouldn't actually be improving it at all. The only way I was able to improve our website was by talking to users and by understanding their experiences, what they're confused about, and what they needed, and what information they wanted to access. So it's super important to listen to your users, ask them questions, and then understand where they're coming from so you can better your product. When you go into interviewing, here are some 4 things that I want to highlight in terms of that will help you gain empathy. So it's super important to remove personal bias and to listen. So you understand another person's experience. So it's never your place as a user experience designer to say, well, did you try this? Maybe that would be easier. Or actually, that's not the right way to use this product. It's not an idea to do that. So that's where removing personal bias and listening really comes in handy when you're interviewing. And also practicing active listening techniques is extremely helpful in dive deeper into a user's experience. So I've outlined some questions, but it's always good to ask why a bunch of times. So that's the next thing. There's a concept of the 5 whys in UX, where you literally just ask why 5 times after you ask one question, and it'll help you really understand their experience and understand something that you wouldn't tell you based on an initial question. And then the last thing, and it's super important, is to never make assumptions. So then going back to what the previous slide said, if you make decisions based on assumptions or expectations. You will make decisions that are not based on knowledge. They're just based on your assumptions, which may not be correct. That being said, we're going to jump into conducting user research. So, does anyone know what a persona is? Go ahead. Yes. Oh. What do you think it is?
To put in that survey taker's shoes and walk through the problem while at the same time trying to put emotion on what they're feeling as they're going through the problem or trying to go to the website to solve the problem.
Mm-hmm. That's interesting. Cool. Yeah, that's right. A persona is a representation of a group of users' needs. So, an example in this case, a persona would represent a group of commerce employees with specific needs and experiences specific for the app that we're going to be developing through this class. So examples, when you look at commerce employees as a whole, some personas that could be developed could be janitors that work in the Herbert C. Hoover building, or they could be employees within the office of the secretary, or they could be contractors. So different needs can be grouped into personas, and that can help with interviewing as well. Personas are helpful when you're doing research for creating different products. So this is a persona document that we'll be working on creating in a little bit as well. And this is really helpful because a lot of times when you're doing user research, oftentimes you'll interview lots of people, maybe say like 10 to 15 people. And those people experiences can be grouped into personas. So this kind of document helps put together different experiences in like one group. So it's really great that you can interview all these people and you can ask them all these questions, but you can kind of combine all that knowledge into a document like this. So what I'd like to point out with this is that there's information, but I'd say the most important things here are the goals, frustrations, and motivations, because you won't necessarily be asking directly to user, what do you want in this product? Ask them questions about what their goals are and what their frustrations are is actually more helpful in identifying their needs. And so a simpler version of this, something a little more similar to what we'll be doing today. It's important information, goals, likes, and pet peeves. And with this minimal of a persona document, it went down. This minimal of a document, you can get a lot of important information. So, we're talking about interviewing, and now we're going to finally do it. So this is going to be a 30-minute exercise, and we're going to get into pairs. And each person is going to get to interview the other person for 15 minutes. Everyone has this document. It's called Exercise 1, User Interview Document. I have extra copies up here. So this will work. You can partner up and just go through the questions. There's background questions, there's work habits, and goals. And as I mentioned before, it's really great to ask why a bunch of times and to go deeper into people's experiences. So if you don't understand something, just say, could you tell me a little bit more about that? Practice active listening. So yeah, I'll set a timer for 15 minutes, and then I'll let you know when you need to switch. So yeah, does anyone have any questions about this exercise? Okay, so go ahead. So this will probably be like a 30 to 35 minute section. So go ahead, everyone Inson, go ahead and get started, and I'll set the timer. So one person should have finished interviewing by now, so now you can switch. Great. All right, great. So we're going to wrap up the last interview. That was great. I was talking so much. That was great. So before to the next part, which is where we'll be creating a persona based on that interview, I just want to share some insights that you found. Do this one now. So, for example, what were some sleep habits that you found, and then what were some goals that you found? Like one sleep habit and one goal that you found about the person you interviewed. A goal was, of experience was that people didn't get enough sleep, and then a goal was to get more sleep. Yeah, it's funny, when I was walking around the room, I actually heard almost everyone say, "Oh, are you getting enough sleep?" "No, I always need more," or "I'm always tired." So it's funny. That's a commonality that it seems like a lot of people share. What about one work habit and how that affects a sleep habit? Want to share anything? Okay, online are saying all devices. Some people are saying that all devices go to airplane mode when she goes to bed. That's actually a good idea. And then one person works on their laptop before they go to bed, which probably affects their sleep. So those were some good examples. So now we're going to move into the synthesizing and ideating phase. And first, we're going to synthesize our research by creating a persona. So there's another document called the X2 Persona Creation Document. In this one, we are going to create those little persona profiles that I showed you before. So as you can see here in this document, there's a draw your user, little drawing exercise, a user quote. So if there's a quote that you can remember them saying, then that's where that goes. Background information, user pain points. I would say put the top 3 pain points. So when I say pain points, I mean problems that they're having. So for example, if someone was like, my work is really stressful, so I go to sleep at night because I'm thinking about work. That's a pain point. And a goal would be, the goals that you ask them. So this, we're also going to take another 10 to 15 minutes to complete. Does this make sense to everyone, what we're doing? Yes. Yeah, pain point is just a problem that you're kind of extrapolating. So if someone is saying like, it's a problem they're having. So if someone's not getting enough sleep, what was the reason why getting enough sleep? Through the clues that you asked and the answers that you were given, create those pain points in your own words. It doesn't necessarily have to be something they exactly told you. The problem they're having based on something they told you. Sleep. And you work with your partner with this, or you can work by yourself. The timer for another 10 minutes. The user part, it's just be fun. You don't have to be statistic with it. You can draw a stick figure if you want, but it's just to help you remember who that person is and that it was an actual person that you spoke with. It's quite, but it looks like most people are, so we can move on. Great, so now that you've kind of looked at your research and narrowed down specific use and what your user has experienced, could a couple tell me about the pain points that they identified? Yeah, go ahead. Cool. Person sleeps 4 hours a night and works 80 hours a week. Yes. So let me just ask you a little bit more. So what did you find out was the reason for that? The busy and stressful job is contributing to his sleep a night and 80 hours working. And in terms of goals, how does that affect his goals? Okay. Goals, he feels like he can accomplish more if he's well rested. Okay, great, that makes sense. Someone else want to share? Yeah.
With waking up early, so she wakes up often because her alarm goes off, and then she can't fall back asleep, so her brain just wakes up, and then she's for the day, I guess, but she still feels tired of the day. And then this generally affects some of her goals because she lacks some motivation to execute all the goals that she wants, or just low energy.
Okay. Very interesting. One person online said a pain point was getting up very early to beat beltway traffic. Total pain point. Great. So that is, oh yeah, okay, great. So we should. These pain points can turn into your user's needs. That's what I was kind of going for when I was asking to share and when we had that back and forth. So it's a common need is that people need more sleep. But through an app, like what we explore is how can we, through an app, help people get more sleep? And that's a pretty big question. So we're going to also work to narrow that down a little bit. So in the ideation phase, we're going to use this thing called do you have a question? Let's do it. The question was to put this to the world. How, if you have a website, how do you ask the right questions and the users to understand how you can improve the website? Is that correct? Okay. So I would say you would start by identifying your primary users. So you mentioned export.gov. You work with export.gov? Okay, great. So off the top of your head, right, we can do this right now. Who would you say are your primary, top 3 users? Okay. And there are individuals in those businesses that are going to export.gov, right? So it'd be first you'd to identify the individuals that go to your website, and export.gov has a lot of abilities. Like there's a lot of different content on there. So it also depends on what you're looking to improve. If it's a section of the website or if it's the overall website, that's something that you have to identify as well. So you can start by identifying the users that your website, then out to them and have a conversation with them. And I think in terms of your questions, you want to ask them about what goals are when they come to your website. So in this case, we talked about user goals in terms of getting more sleep. But in applying to the real world, you ask them when you're dealing with your own product and then the users of that product, you want to ask them how they interact with it, how they do it, why they are, like what information they're looking for. And this is kind of where it can get a little, you don't have to get too technical or anything, but I think it might even be helpful to ask, what browsers are you viewing this on? And is there unable to accomplish your goal? That's always a really good question. It can give you some insights into anything that's stopping them. So if, let's say I'm a business person and I'm going to export.gov. Let's say I get lost because I don't understand the navigation. If you ask me the question, has there a time when you weren't able to accomplish your goal? That's where you'll be able to find out if there was a problem on the website or if they got confused on the website. So that's where asking about user goals is really helpful because you can understand how to move through your product and your website. And also I would say you can also ask about the reasons why they're coming to the site, so what they need from the site. So if, a group of users are specifically looking for information on how to trade with internal exporters, you can, the needs might be different from someone only some different information. So, asking broad questions that can kind of lead to more specific answers. And then that's also where you ask why a bunch of times. Does that make
focus groups within the team, or I have to go and talk to the client?
What do you mean by focus groups within the team?
We're a group of people together in this project, so we consider ourselves as one of the clients to the website and some feedbacks from ourselves. That's like the right practice or not, but should we do that, or should we go and meet with clients, companies, and talk to them and get the feedback only from them, or both from them, us, or on us, considering we know what they need?
Mm-hmm. How do you consider yourself to be a client of the website? We'll keep talking.
So I think the role of what if I have my own business and I want to start exporting? So how would I think when visiting a site like export.gov? If I'm looking for a way, let's say I'm exporting pen, so I look into the website and start thinking from there and to address it. Some other people on the team, I think other way, they say we have all this information that the user doesn't know about, so how to present it so the user can make the maximum benefit of it.
Okay. Yeah, I think your action of thinking of yourself, if I am this kind of person, how might I do this? But you're going to get the best answer, or you're not going to understand how they're actually doing it unless you go talk to that type of user. So what you've come up with is a use case. So if I'm this type of user, I need this information, this is how I can find it. That's a use case. But in order to actually organize the website and the content and design it correctly in a way that fosters the best user experience, you definitely need to talk to the users. So like that specific type of user that you just outlined, I'd say find 5 of those types of users and just call them up and talk to them. You may not necessarily need to go in person, because I understand that's challenging sometimes as well, but if you can at least get them on the phone and understand what they are looking for and also how they're currently doing it, that might give you some insight into any problems they may face. Or, yeah. Is that Yep. Great.
Thank you.
No problem. Awesome. That was I hope that was helpful for other people. It's always good to see how things apply in the real world. Great. So next we're going to move into the ideation phase. And I briefly mentioned we're going to use a method called How Might We method. And so now at this point we've looked at themes and we've looked at the insights that we discovered through our interviewing. And we've identified some pain points and problems that poses challenges for the users that you interviewed. And now we're going to reframe those insights as how might we questions to turn challenges into opportunities for design. So the way to do that is just by asking simple questions like this. Some examples that I wrote up. How might we help Department of Commerce employees get more sleep? So super broad and not best in terms of putting that into an app that we can create or a design that we can create. So the next level down would be how might we reduce stress levels for that DOC employees experience. So that one's a little more specific because it talks about stress levels. So now we're going to take the next 5 minutes to write down 3 how might we statements. And really want everyone to think about the problems that they discovered and a way that you specifically point to something that you can actually do, a solution that you can create. You come up with a solution, but make it narrow enough. Don't make it too broad, essentially. And also we'll talk about this afterwards, and we can go through this exercise together once you come up with your own statements. And you can. Okay, great. Bless. Formatted the question a little bit. There's still time to work, but it just how might we blank to help the user with blank problem. So you're specifically focusing in on a specific problem they have with that solution. So, one person online shared one, and they said, how might we help DOC employees stop checking their work email at home so they can relax more? That one. That's great. Does anyone in class want to share one that they had? You can share just a single one that you came up with. Oh, okay.
Sorry.
No worries. The point to create your own how might we statement. So if you want to do that right now, you can do that right now. Did anyone else come up with a new how might we statement? Tons of one.
I had things like how can we help employees get more exercise, eat more healthy, their work. And then did I get your instructions right? The second part was come up with ideas for each of those.
Mm-hmm.
So I've got a few of those when we get to that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we'll get to that in the future.
Employee engagement, activities with each other. a lot of in our silos in different areas. So how do we get people to start talking to each other
Mhm.
and to help bring down the stress and share problems?
Mhm. How might we get employees to share experiences and talk to each other more? That's also a great one. Awesome. So now that we did our, people did, how might we improve efficiency when they do not have enough sleep? Interesting. How might we encourage nap taking to reduce the effects of sleep deprivation? I want that. That's great. That's awesome. So next, in continuation of the how might we statement, but there's another type of problem hypothesis statement, and this is where you'll be taking solutions and kind of putting them into the same kind of sentence. So a problem and hypothesis statement can help communicate a clear vision for the work itself as you shift the conversation from outputs to outcomes. So the difference would be like, how might we create an app to help DOC employees? That maybe was the one we came up with, but now we can choose how might we increase the amount of sleep that DOC employees get and decrease the amount of stress they feel. So that's what I meant by, specific towards a specific achievable goal. And this is how you write problem statements. We'll take another couple seconds to write it like this. So problem statement is persona name needs a way to blank because of this insight. We believe that doing this for these people will achieve this outcome, and know this to be true when we see this feedback or quantitative measure. So as an example that I wrote, problem statement. Radhika needs a way to spend less time on her phone at night because it prevents her from going to sleep on time. Hypothesis. We believe that by creating an app that limits phone use at night, Radhika, we will help her get more sleep at night. Know this to be true when Radhika gets more sleep and improves her performance at work. So that illustrates how you're taking a need, taking the problem, and coming up with just one solution for right now that illustrates how you can help solve that problem. Does this make sense to everyone? Take another couple minutes, and I want you to write 2 of your own problem and hypothesis statements based on this line. Here is that you're still looking at your research, you're looking at those pain points. This is kind of where you can come up with some creative solutions. And remember that we're focusing this on an app. So for now, you can focus in on how can we create an app, or what parts of an app can help solve this problem. Cool. Everyone was hard at work. It was really quiet. I got a couple that are online. They're really awesome. So one says, Sing needs a way to meet scientists from other teams at work because meeting them on social networks at bedtime keeps her awake. We believe that an after-work happy hour called Drink and Link on near the NIST campus will bring Sing together with scientists from other teams in the early evening without having to use her phone to access social media in bed at night. Will this to be true when Sing adds 15 scientists to LinkedIn, increasing her nightly sleep by 1 hour? That's awesome because it was really specific, it had numbers, and it was also an actionable item. Let's see. Anyone in person want to share? Really interested to hear what people came up with. If that's what people are worried about. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So one person in class said there could be an app that could identify empty conference rooms and allow people to go in and take a nap, and it would be successful when people use it. And I would say it'd be successful if it's accepted by government as well. That's a good idea. I said that. What else is here? I'll share anything in person. Yeah, go. Oh, so bring you the mic. Nice, that's great.
Okay, so the first box with the problem statement, I put needs a way to get personal massages because it would help them cope with stress at work and home and get better sleep. So I put for the hypothesis, we believe that by getting an app that schedules massages at work on site, it will help the person get the needed stress relief. The final paragraph, we will need this to be true when all appointment times are fully booked and people find themselves filing more often.
Fantastic. I love that one. That's great. It's really. I liked how specific you got with the outcome. So that being said, we can move on. And now is the part we get to designing, and we're going to be sketching in a little bit, which is going to be super fun. So first up, does anyone have any questions about the exercises that we just went through? Nope. Okay. So next, I'm just going to show you a couple of design process that can be helpful, but we won't be doing every single one of them. So first off, a user flow is an illustration of movement through a system that demonstrates how users get from point A to B within an interface. So this is really useful when you have an app or website that has a lot of pages, has a lot of stuff going on, and a user flow can help you as the designer or as the UX specialist. It can help you see how the user navigates through things, and it can also help identify problems within your own site. So if there are like a million ways to do one thing, that's one way of identifying that there's a problem. There don't need to be ways to do one thing on a website. So that's how a user flow can be helpful. Wireframes. A wireframe is a layout of a web page that demonstrates what interface elements will exist on key pages. So in this image, really simply, it's just blocks of text and blocks of maybe images and blocks of content. But wireframes can also get more specific than this. They can have actual content and actual text, but most of the time they're really minimal and just don't have many colors. Just show a minimal layout of how the content will be presented. And a user flow and a wireframe can be called a wire flow, also can just be called a higher fidelity prototype. And wire flows show what the interface will look like when a user takes a specific action. So it combines the user flow with the wireframe. I'll talk a little bit about design patterns. So today, when we are creating this mobile app, it will be really helpful for you to look at existing mobile patterns. So even your own phone, you can just click over and look at what buttons look like and what back buttons look like and what little things like that look like, and it can help you come up with designs for your own app. And so that is also super important to remember, that you rarely have to reinvent the wheel when it comes to design. You're coming up with new things on your own, especially for government. There's a lot of design standards that are super helpful to follow. And that being said, the U.S. Web Design Standards are a fantastic to follow, specifically for websites. 18F came up with them, and they're really great. On the left, this image shows all buttons, bless you. These are buttons that exist on government websites, As you can see, there are various colors. Apply Now is red here, and Apply Now is green on another. So what H&F did is they took these differences among all these different websites, government websites, and specifically for buttons, they created these really simple guidelines and patterns to follow for buttons. And so primary, secondary buttons, and then the different button states, they created a way for users to come to government websites and recognize that it's a government website. Not only the button, but through other things they created as well. Another resource specifically for mobile is patterns.com, and this is fantastic because it's literally just screenshots of a million types of apps, and they do different things. So they have categories for this is how the apps have charts, this is how a different app has events, and so it's really helpful to look at. Specifically for today, I definitely recommend that you look at these. So next we're going to do a little sketching exercise. I think a lot of times when I mention sketching or when I mention people, doing artwork themselves, a lot of people are like, oh, I'm not an artist, or I don't know how to draw. But that's totally fine because you don't have to be an artist to sketch. So we're going to do a little sketching exercise. And also, sketching is super helpful because right now we're thinking of all these ideas. We did all this research, and a couple people came up with ideas, a nap app or a massage app. When you want to take these ideas and turn them into something real, sketching is a great way to first do that without going directly to your designer or directly to the person. If you have your own idea and you want to put it down, then sketching is a great way to do that. So let's start sketching. So there's paper around the room. Everyone has a pen. Then you can just grab any piece of paper or even just like a section of the documents that we worked on. So I want everyone to draw 5 lines, however you want. There's no right or wrong for this exercise. So just draw 5 lines. And after you draw those 5 lines, draw 1 rectangle and 2 squares. Draw a circle. And then draw a triangle. I learned how to sketch. That was. So, all of those elements that we drew, lines, rectangles, circles, squares, those are all elements of sketching and all elements of like mobile wireframes or desktop wireframes as well. So it's not as hard as you think. So that's that whole thing was. So now that you know how to do those basic things, we are going to take about 20 minutes, maybe 30, to sketch your ideas that you came up with. So I feel like this is also like an open time to have a conversation about what you're thinking with your app idea, any other questions you have. So what we're looking for is to have something, to draw something similar to what this image shows. So there are different an app, you can think about if you want you log in or if you want them to just be able to click the app and open it and start using it. You can also think about, based on the user that you interviewed, based on their needs, how can this app best serve them and their needs and help them solve the problems that they're facing. And once again, I just listed the problem again if people wanted to look at that And it's super important now to think of all the research that we've done and the hypothesis statements and turn them into something real. Anyone have any questions about what we're doing now? No. And time. All right, great. So go ahead and get started. I'll leave this image up here as a little help if you want to look at how to draw or what to draw. Oh, break. Also, this is a good time for a break if anyone wants to get up and go to the bathroom. But so I'll just be floating around helping people. Like I said, now is a good time to look at other apps that exist and look at how you're doing what you're interested in doing and come up with ideas based off of other things that you see as well. So, yeah. Okay. Free to make these sketches as big as you want. They don't have to be the exact size of your phone. Actually be even more helpful if you make them bigger so you can have room to experiment and play around. Okay. We have about 15 minutes left of sketching. And I think I want to come up with three frames. So I'm working on this too, so just 3 pages. And if you come up with more, feel free to. But a minimum of 3 would be good, and we can maybe share what we came up with afterwards. All right, great. So, congrats. I've made some sketches and wireframes. I didn't have to go around to everyone to see, but anyone want to talk about, or does anyone in the room maybe want to just like hold up what they did and share? We'll go first if to help away. So I actually took the idea, the DOC Naps. So the name of the app, I just called DOC Naps. So the first page I created was a login page because in my mind, we only want the employees to be able to log in. So people within the Herbert C. Hoover building, we don't want people outside the building coming in to take naps. The user, so the user login would help with that constraint. And then I actually love the Google Calendar app, so I modeled it mostly off of the Google Calendar app. So at the top it says DOC Naps, and there's a little hamburger menu for a side navigation. Still haven't figured out what would go there, but it's essentially really simply just book a room at the top, and just has the time and the room number in chronological order. So it says book room today. So it's showing all the times and locations for today. And then this is a drop down, and it can also say, I can just pass this around. It will also say things like choose or other things like that. And then the next page is when a user clicks book now, the screen shows what they would see when they book it, which is just a confirmation of the information selected, and then they book it, and the next page is just confirm you're going to take a nap on this day. So it's really simple, but just there were a couple other considerations that I thought about, including who users will be. We want them to be only inside the building, and I modeled it off after the Google Calendar app because that's something that was kind of in my head. So then, does anyone want to share their ideas? Yeah, go ahead, Tanja.
Outside out how we as a DOC family can share our data outwardly. So I came up with a little map, and I couldn't really think of a name of it, but I just called it Market. And what it's doing is taking all the economic data from different agencies and putting it in one app where someone can kind of do visualizations or pull up some kind of picture of what it is. So, let me hold it up. So the first one will be looking at a single industry or cross comparison of industries or can be writing of industries, and the import, exports, et cetera, types of economic data. The third screen, they'll be able to put the different categories, they're like populated with different categories. The fourth screen, visualize it, and the screen the return. That's just a simple.
Okay. And did you create that based off of the user interview that you did?
Yeah, and some research that I know is going on.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. Cool. Yeah, go ahead. Awesome. 3 people, you're all going to share.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I was
no problem.
stealing everyone else's ideas from an app called Walk It
Mm-hmm.
that would encourage people to walk and therefore improve their health. And word points would be free massage. So the screen is like a welcome screen, like showing happy people walking around and then get massages and then getting better.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's a login screen, and then there's suggested routes with Google Maps. And there's options like, do you want to route during the summer? Do you want to route indoors in the mall if it's raining? And the walk in progress thing with a progress bar. And then there's a high five picture at the end that says ready to give you like immediate gratification. And then a picture is like you earn 2 free massages with a picture of a happy person massage.
Awesome. And could you tell me a little bit about how that relates to your user interview? So is that like, was there a problem that you identified that then made you think of this as a solution?
Yeah, well, the person I talked to wasn't getting enough sleep, and she likes to walk to relax. So I figured it'd be good to encourage people to walk more. And then you're right, getting massages I thought was brilliant. So I incorporated that as well, and like everyone else's experiences here.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. That's great. Do you want to share next?
The interface starts off more like the 2008 interface that Barack Obama used through the Jekyll team that was developing for him back in 2008. So this is very simple for the first block because it only has 2 buttons. You choose to schedule your massage or learn about the massages, or you can report an error to them. And this way, people don't have to sign in if they can't get the time slot that they want anyway. So like, why and available. If you click to learn more, then you're directed to the frequently asked questions page, because sign in if you're uncomfortable with the procedure in the first place. So then, if you click to schedule, then you're going to give your floor location, the time you're looking for, and then choose a date at that time. If that time's not available, you're not going to be able to pick a date, or it's completely booked for like the next 14 days, you're not going to be able to go forward and pick a if one picked all 3, then it confirms floor, time, and the date. Sign in button, and you have to confirm that appointment within 8 minutes, because that's about where you have to come to a seat within a certain amount of time or you lose it. And once sign in with term time, can possibly get an error that says you've or have another appointment within 4 calendar days of that appointment, so you're not like locking down the calendar for just your massages. So if you're not scheduled for another appointment within 14 days, then you have the option to check the box that you've set the policy for the massage, and then click confirm. And once you confirm, the confirmation page gives you the option to enter your email, so that email this appointment yourself, or there's a print button where you can just print the appointment and keep it in your pocket.
Awesome. It's like you thought a lot about, yes, what would be useful for the user, but also, us as like DOC Wellness coming up with this. You thought about, finding that, checking to make sure that they read the terms and conditions or something. That's really awesome that you considered all those things too. Yeah. Do you go?
thought through an app encouraging people to walk. And out of my user interview, because one of the personal goals was to go for more walks, and one of the ways to unwind was to listen to music. So the app is called We Walk, and it's a pretty simple interface where your opening screen, you can you can initiate a walk, you can do your achievements, or you can playing some music. Once you initiate a walk, you have a series of buttons for 5, 10, 15, 20, or 60 minutes. You have a lot of time for a long walk. And you get to choose the type of music or sounds you want in your headphones, either nothing, nature sounds, music, and choose your level of do not disturb on your phone, whether you want nothing coming through, calls only, calls and texts only, or everything. Would transition to a simple screen that says the number of minutes left in your walk, and be able to look at your achievements, a picture of little feet for any represent number of minutes you've gone for a walk on that day, percentage towards achieving your goal. So yeah, it would nudge you to go for walks, nudge you to achieve your goals.
So when you're setting up or configuring the app, do you get to put in goals?
That was the idea. I didn't draw the screen for that.
Yeah.
But.
Yeah. That's really cool. That sounds like that aligns closely with your user goal of wanting to walk more. So this is directly a function of the app that engages them to meet that goal.
And gives them pleasant things to listen to while they do it.
Yeah, that's awesome. That'd be cool. So, good job, everyone, for coming up with some sketches and wireframes. So, the class is on, but I have just a couple topics that I wanted to close out on. So, you have your sketches, but then move forward from there. The next phase would be to digitize your sketches and turn them into wireframes. So, wireframes have more content, more side content, so button names, content, things like that is what wireframes contain. You can really cook the designs as well. So I definitely recommend. I think that's where the designer and the UX professional comes in creating these documents. So a lot of helpful tools if you wanted to do them yourself. Also, if you wanted to try learning them, there's a list here that I have of valuable tools you can use. And the ones that I really recommend, I would say Omraffle and Envision app are really great. Specifically, Envision is really great for usability testing, which I'm going to go into in a second. But so when you create your wireframes, they're really simple. But if you actually want to simulate a person clicking through, and if you want to simulate a static PDF like it actually is a working website, you can use tools like OmniGraffle and Envision to actually make specific areas of a page active, so it'll go to the next page. So that's really helpful if you want to just run a usability test on does this language communicate this, and does there know that this button or this link takes them to where they need to go. So speaking of usability testing, I think a couple people asked about it online, and you mentioned that you have focus groups, but then also how do you know that a new design that you come up with is beneficial or is going to help? And I'd say the best way to do that is through usability testing. And usability testing it's low cost, but it's also free. And there's some outlets where you can, like usertesting.com, where you can put your service out there and have people use it. But if you conduct it yourself, you can also just reach out to users that you know, or people are frequently using your services, and conduct the test yourself. So I conducted in-person and online usability testing with people within the Department of Commerce, and also people that are DOC employees that work across the country. And it's been really eye-opening to show what what piece of my designs or what pieces of websites are currently functioning and things that can be improved. Just briefly, 6 tips in conducting. Yeah. Use.com. That's a website where you can link your website to it, and you can have people come in and test it. I think there's even you get paid to some extent. So I'm not sure if it's the best option for government, to be honest, but it's an option nonetheless. But yeah, you can look into that. So how to conduct usability testing, just going over it. First, find actual users of your product, not just people that you think are maybe using it, but actually seek out people that use it on a regular basis. Come up with open-ended tasks for the user to complete. So you're actually just saying, do you know what the website does? Or is this information helpful? Those aren't the questions that are going to really help you understand their experience and see what you're going through. The best way to do this is to come up with open-ended tasks. So, for example, you could, on the Commerce Data Academy website, one task that I came up with was navigate to upcoming classes, watch them from where they were, find the upcoming classes. And it was actually eye-opening because it was semi-confusing for them to get there. So then in addition, I asked, why did you click that? Why was it confusing? Do you think that clicking something else will get you there? So there's a bunch of other questions you can ask as well. So ask the user to talk out loud as they complete this. That will help you undergoing. And actively watch how they click on things and observe their body language, because that will show any hesitation or confusion. That's why I personally recommend in-person user testing, because you can get a lot more out of it. But there are total ways to do it online and still get as much out of it. So that wraps up the class, and the 2 slides are just a bunch of resources I have in terms of web design, mobile design, UX design, and conducting usability testing as well. If someone has any other questions, then I'm here. And someone online asked, do you know if we need any sort of PRA approval to solicit input on usability for forms? So, the things with this is that PRA, you can't send paperwork to more than 9 people, is what I understand. So I have not conducted user testing with more than 9 people. It's actually a pretty good sample size. So that's my comment.
But also it depends on if you're trying to interview external. If you're just working with federal employees and you're not going to publish a report or some kind of do a lot of statistical analysis, you can get approval to do a share some testing in your department or division. But it's just when you go outside the government, that's where that applies.
Okay, great. Any other questions? Oh, well, I hope everyone enjoyed the class. And it was fun working with you all as well. And if you have any other questions, I'm up here. Come and talk to me if you want. And then also, all these slides are online, so and my contact information is in there as well if you want to talk with me further, if you have any other questions for the work that you're doing. So thank you so much.
Be sure you sign the sign-in sheet if you're in person, and if you're online or in person, we will be sending out a quick post-course survey. So you'll take the time to fill that out and give us feedback on our class. And we have, what's that? It's coming up on February 21st. It's Intermediate JavaScript, Intro to jQuery. So if you're interested in that topic, the information is on our website on how to register, and there is a prerequisite for that class because it's an intermediate level. So, but you can watch the class online that you need to see before you go to this class. So anyway, we hope you'll join us for that class if you're interested. Thank you.